And we are live on YouTube, I believe.
We are.
Here we go. Welcome, everybody. You're
Hello.
on What's the Takeaway? This is a show hosted by myself, Carrie, and Denise. And we have been longtime business partners, many years friends, and we're actually really excited tonight because we are inviting in another dear friend to join us, and she has an incredible specialty that Denise is going to tell you all about her in a minute. But if you're new to What's the Takeaway, the point of our show is based on a method that we've used in life and in business that's always worked so well. So while everyone else out there is telling you to add more, do more, try more, learn more, we're going to give you a break and you get to remove things from your life so you can actually see the things that matter. And we believe, we know that when you take things away, you actually get to what you want. So in each show, what we do is we present you with a topic and we present you with 3 possible takeaways. Now, you don't have to do all 3. You can just pick one. And again, my dear friend Denise will go through the takeaways for today, and she will introduce our dear friend Jan, who is our guest speaker. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you. Thank you. So welcome to What's the Takeaway? Today we are talking about problem-proofing traveling with our pets, like Carrie said, and we are both super excited because we have a wonderful guest expert today with us, and her name is Jan Jeremias, and we'll introduce Jan in just a minute. But first, we always start the show with the 3 takeaways. So takeaway number 1 is take away the uneasiness of leaving your pet in a kennel or another type of like doggy daycare when you and your family are traveling. Takeaway number 2 is take away the worry that your accommodations won't accept your pet. And that could be maybe you called in advance, but maybe they're a little bigger than they thought. And takeaway number 3 is take away the idea that traveling with your pet in your car isn't safe. So I love these takeaways, and since we travel with our beloved Finn, I'm going to pay special attention. So I'd love to introduce to you our dear friend and our business partner, Jan Jeremias. Jan is a certified yoga teacher and a reflexologist. She has an extensive background in science and health. She received her bachelor's degree in biology from Stern College for Women and her master's degree in immunology and infectious disease. This is not a lightweight person here. She has her diploma in both tropical medicine from the London School of Hygiene and tropical medicine from the University of London. Jan has worked in clinical infectious disease and cancer research centers at Cornell University Medical College and Mount Sinai College in Manhattan, New York City for over 20 years. And in addition, Jan's worked with the New York City Department of Health for 4 years. So while Jan was working at the Department of Health, she was introduced to essential oils to help her 14-year-old dog, Casey, and Carrie and I knew Casey well, who at the time had a canine cognitive disorder, right? Or old age dog dementia. And at first, Jan didn't know what the power, the benefits of using the oils would be. And she incorporated other healing modalities, but she soon became really aware and convinced that her dog was acting and feeling better because of the use. Casey lived to 19 years old. Casey was a big dog, and we again knew Casey. She'd come to some of our monthly meetings, and what a sweet dog. And she had really a beautiful life. So Jan's passion for natural health and her scientific background has really helped her help others and their pets worldwide. She has a unique ability to merge West and East to empower people and their pets in their journeys to wellness. And she's also the co-author of Spoil Your Pets, one of the best-selling essential oil books for pets on Amazon, with her co-author, Dr. Mia Frezzo. Jan, we are so excited to have you here with us today. Thank you so much for agreeing to talk with us and our audience and share your extensive knowledge on this really important subject, because our pets are our family. And we want the absolute best for them. So we want them to be comfortable and safe and have fun when we're traveling, whether they're with us or not. So let's address the first takeaway. Well, first, let me say thank you for being here again in person, but let's address the first takeaway. So what is it? What can we do to really alleviate if you have to leave a dog or a cat in a kennel or a doggy daycare? Or what can we arrange maybe differently for our pets so that we know they're safe and having fun while we're out having fun?
So thank you both so much. It's really great to be here with you both. It is feeling like home. I see your smiling faces and I'm like, so heartfelt. I have traveled with a number of pets through the years. So I will begin by saying, yes, you can travel with your cats, but cats are very different. And even facilities that say they accept pets, a lot of times will not take cats. So you really have to, having had that experience myself, when I went to stay in an Airbnb after I moved out from my house, it said pets. And when I, messaged the guy afterwards, he's like, well, dogs are fine. We really don't want cats. And at that time, I didn't have a place to live. So he was kind enough to let me stay, but, make sure you check it out. Now, there are a lot of options when you're going away. So, you can take your pet with you, and we'll talk a little bit about the best kind of way to problem proof that. You can put your pet in a kennel or some sort of other, let's say boarding facility, some veterinarian's board, other options. And then also you can either have someone come and stay at your house and take care of your pets, or come in every day. And you can also have them go to someone else's house. So multiple options to kind of think about when you're traveling with your pet. And so I guess let's start here. So I think that no matter what you do, when you're traveling, like whether you're going to take them with you or whether you're going to leave them home, you want them to feel in as calm and as normal as possible. Like you want to decrease their anxiety and their potential for just acting different, which they are going to. So don't think they're not going to, because they probably will. They're in a different environment. It's a different routine. And so I would say that's probably key, is keep that routine as streamlined as possible so that, don't, try to keep to the same regimen. Like if you travel, like walk them the same amount, feed them the same diet. Don't keep all those things as normal and as steady as possible, because they are routine-based beings. Like they thrive on routine. I don't think we're any different. We usually, that's what throws me off when I travel. If I'm going to stop taking my supplements, that's when I stop, because all of a sudden my normal regime is not normal. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I forgot to take those morning supplements, So try to keep their routine as stable and as normal as possible. And then there are tools you can use. So if you are an essential oil user, I love using essential oils, calming. And if you use them at home, it smells like home. So if you're, if you're sending them to stay with someone, send them with essential oils or their normal toys or blankets, things like that. If someone's coming in, obviously teach them how to use them so that they can continue the routine while you're away. And that goes for other things besides for essential oils. That goes for medication and supplements that they might be on. And then if you're bringing them with you, oh my gosh, I mean, I don't travel without my essential oils for myself. I'm definitely not traveling without them for my animals. So that's like a like a surefire way that I always do that.
I love that. I have to say, the fact that it smells familiar. I mean, I'm not even putting two and two together, Jan. That's brilliant. Like I want things to smell like home, even if I'm 1,000 miles away. So that makes sense to me.
And you also mentioned something else that I really liked, and maybe that comes later. Maybe I'm, preempting this, about getting whoever they're with, letting them experience the place or the person or the setup prior to leaving them. I love that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I always said that, it's not like you would send your kids to a daycare without testing it out first, like human kids. Yeah. And I feel the same way. If you're having someone that comes in your house, first of all, there should be a meet and greet before you leave them with your pet. I mean, let them see who the person is, let them see your pet in the normal environment that they're used to being in. So it's not foreign, they see what your pet normally acts like when they're with you. If you're taking them to them, I suggest that you don't use someone for the first time, and don't do a trial run. So if you're going away for 2 weeks, don't let that be the first time you use that person. Because if something doesn't work out, or something isn't it's not a good match, just like everything, if you have kids, if you have a babysitter and it's not a good match, or a caretaker, you just know, and you might as well know that after 2 days for a weekend versus being in the middle of somewhere and then getting a call like this isn't working, and then you're like, okay, what do I do? The second thing is always have a backup. So I'll tell you a real life example. So I'm on my way in April to go take care of my parents because my dad fell, and I'm driving to New Jersey to take Tonka to the girl who used to watch it. I'm in the car and I call her, and she says to me, I say, how you doing? She's pregnant. And I knew she was pregnant. And she said, well, I'm in the ER. Wow. I'm literally 10 minutes away from her house, thinking to myself, oh my gosh, if she can't take him, I'm flying out. What do I do? And so have a backup, see if you have, get someone else in mind, or maybe talk to them just in case, because the last thing you want is the day before you're leaving for something to fall through. And so that would be a suggestion, get a backup.
Yeah, absolutely. My next door neighbors, Victoria, watches their dog when they're away. And this is not an easy dog. He's very sweet, but he's not easy. And so Victoria slept over at night because he can't be alone. And Victoria was away the week they were going away last summer. And so she got someone else, and it was not a good match. And so the neighbor called me and said, Denise, do you think Victoria can go over for, this one time? And then Victoria went over, and the dog was growling at her. She wouldn't even let her in the door. And so he loves me. I don't know why, but this dog loves me. And so I go to the door, and I get him all excited even before I open up the door. I'm like, Teddy, I'm here. And he let me in, and Victoria was with me, and he didn't growl at her, and he came up to me. But the young girl who she hired, she wouldn't go back. She was afraid. So yeah, you need to, so then I got to watch Teddy that weekend.
Yeah. I mean, it's always nice if you have somebody who obviously loves what they do and really loves animals. Obviously that's the best. And I don't know that many people that would leave their pet with somebody, because it is a child. So I'm not leaving them with anybody who doesn't seem to be, as heartfelt and as, I am. So I'm going to.
As capable, I think, too, right? So, Jen, would you suggest that if they do have to put them and board them somewhere, that even their bedding, because I know people bring their bedding with them, put a little oil and talk to them about that, and bring their toys? Would you do the same thing as if they were staying in someone else's home?
Yes, I would. And I think toys and putting oils on blankets is a great option. And I'm not saying kennel facilities aren't great. I mean, some dogs really thrive in that kind of situation, but for some it's too chaotic, and there's just too many animals depending on the dog. And so that
they're anxious.
And I mean, a few other things, obviously you want to tell them about your normal pet's routine, anything that they need to know. Essential oils are true part of their daily routine, if that's what you do. So you don't want to break that. The other thing is I always suggest to people is that a lot of facilities, if they're not manned overnight, which most of them are not, make sure that they have 24-hour basically surveillance, so that someone is, gets alarmed if something happened or something like that, just because you don't, you're gone. I mean, a lot of
you never know.
That's right. And a lot of the facilities close at 7 or 8 o'clock at night, and then no one's coming back till the next morning at 6 or 7 a.m. And so that's a long period of time for them for someone to be physically present.
Agreed. Okay, so let's go to takeaway number 2. When you plan a trip, do we need to be worried about accommodations not taking our pets? How do we alleviate that?
So there are a few websites that you can go to. I think most of the major websites of Expedia and hotels.com and Kayak have a selection where you can put in a hotel and then say you want it to be pet friendly. And so you can do that. And then things like Airbnb and VRBO and all those also have pet selections. Now, like I said, cats are a different story. So if they say they're pet friendly, really correspond or send messages to the owner if you're doing Airbnb or VRBO. And if you're doing a more commercial hotel chain, for example, like a lot of hotels will let you bring pets, I would just say make sure that they take all size pets, because this is another story that happened to me. I went to Montreal for a wedding, and at the time I had Casey. And I looked up the hotel, was a really beautiful hotel, and they said they accepted pets. And then we got there and they were like, oh, we have a 25-pound limit. So they don't take pets over 25 pounds. And I didn't know. And yeah, I was from the US, so they didn't send me back. But I mean, and make sure that all the rules and everything are up to date, because a lot of times, depending on the website and Expedia, sometimes they're not updated as often as they should be. And so just make sure that that hotel chain is still accepting pets. The other thing I would just make sure of is sometimes hotels will require a deposit. So you have to be prepared that they might charge you like $200 on your credit card until you check out or more, because in case there's any sort of destruction or damage to the room, you just want to make sure that that ahead of time. And so there are no surprises. Because if we're surprised, then our pets feel it, like then all of a sudden the shock value kind of travels down the leash to them. So just be prepared with that. And then, I always tell people certain things that you want to just be aware of, like if you're planning on leaving your pet in a hotel room or in a rental, remember they're not home. And so they're probably anxious and disoriented, and they don't know where they are, and then you leave them. And so the anxiety kicks in. So I would say don't, if you can, because I think that this way they're more comfortable with you. And the last thing you want is a hotel room that's damaged or, a facility. And then I was on a conversation recently where someone was talking about that. They said that they, their pet had destroyed a hotel room, and the hotel was great and didn't hold them responsible. But so if you do crate your animals, like if you crate your pets, it's a good idea, especially if you're leaving, and just know that they're safe and, they're not going to hurt themselves or eat anything they shouldn't eat or whatever. So yeah.
Any kind of trouble that they can get into.
Yeah. And that just being said, one of my new things that I've learned over the past few days is past few months is if you're traveling, you might want to look up a vet name in that area. Because if your pet gets sick or injured, the last thing you want to do is have to search for somebody. So this way also, if you know somebody in the area, or if you have a vet, you can ask them, oh, I'm traveling here. Do you know any vets in that area?
That's a great idea.
This way you have their number, because the last thing you want is to be searching through your phone or the internet for a place that, you're stressed enough as it is. So
I love that. I think some of these great bits of information and advice and you're giving us also will work when you're, taking the dog with you, like in the car. So I personally think it's so adorable when you see a dog riding shotgun with his head out the window, right? Just enjoying the smells of life. And then at the same time, I think that is the most unsafe, dangerous place for that dog to be. Can you share some of your insights of road tripping with your pets?
Okay. So if you crate your dog, crates are a really great option. One is, they're the safest, they're protected. If for some reason you break down or you're in an accident, it's really the safest place for them to be. Because, having been in an accident in November on a 6-lane highway, with Thanksgiving Eve, so Wednesday before Thanksgiving, traffic was unbelievable. And there I am. I wasn't the only one. There was it was a lot of cars. So 12 people, 2 dogs, all this traffic. And what happens usually is if they get out, that's usually when there's injury. Like a dog gets hit by a car or they run away because they're terrified. So a crate is a really great option just to keep them as safe as possible. It's also, and if you don't have a crate, Some people use seat belts. Doesn't work for Tonka. He's chewed through a number of them, so it just doesn't work. But there's always, maybe yours.
Good try.
You could try. Maybe yours is better. If I'm speaking from, myself, in all honesty. But do not ride with your pets in the front seat. I mean, if it's not good for kids, I mean, a small pet or a pet is not going to survive an accident with that airbag deployed. And, I think about how heartbroken you'll be if something, it's like taking care of anything, right? It's like, your responsibility, and you love them. And the last thing you want is for them to, and then other things about road trips. So make multiple stops. So make walking stops and bathroom breaks. And I've traveled enough to know, like, sometimes I'll scope out a park in the area so we can both go for a walk, because it gives me the opportunity to stretch my legs and to get moving a little bit. And then I don't feel like, I get up the next day and feel like I'm debilitated because I've been in the car for how many hours. And then there are a number of essential oils I like to travel with, and that's just some like of the, what I call first aid oils. So some things that, just in case things happen, but something for nausea and things like that.
Like what?
Oh, I like ginger. I like peppermint. Just inhaled. I really like the blend Digestion for nausea and car sickness. And so that just gives people the opportunity to be prepared, because some dogs don't travel well. Like they don't.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that's a great idea. Oh, I wanted to ask, so equally, what about calming oils? What would you suggest?
Oh, I think my favorite is Adaptive.
Oh, nice.
I love Adaptive. I like anything that comes in a roll-on, which is also why I like Digestion, because it comes in a roll-on and it's already pre-diluted. And I'm not, unless I'm so prepared and I've made a roll-on in advance, but this way it comes already done and I don't have to think about it. And I just take it out. I put a little bit on my hands. I go down his back. A car diffuser is a great idea. So if you have
I take this one with us all the time. It comes its own little box. It's rechargeable. It has a USB. It's perfect to work in the car. And then I put the oils right in it, and it's perfect. It sits right in my cup holder. And so, not to mention that, cars can get, I don't know, let's just say smelly. But to keep me awake, to keep the dog calm, like there are really good ways of using this diffuser in the car. I love that. And I love Adaptive. I agree with you 100%.
And I mean, a few other tips. Remember how warm, remember warmth and heat. So, most air conditioning vents are predominantly in the front. Mm-hmm. So if your pet is in the way back, I have an SUV, then usually it's really hot back there. So there are portable fans you can buy. So I know people who have fans. Windows are always a good thing if you can keep the window cracked, at least to give them some circulating air. And then obviously the brakes, but just be careful that it doesn't get too warm back there.
That's a great idea.
Sometimes I feel like I'm going to freeze because I have the air conditioning blasting and I could use a sweater, but I think it's just reaching back there for him.
Yeah, but it's a good reminder, because I don't think we do think about that.
I'm trying to think of what else. I don't think that, again, I never have traveled with a cat outside a carrier in a car. So I would say they're small, they're kind of they get underneath things. So, they'll go underneath the seat. I've seen cats traveled with people whose cats go underneath the gas pedal and the brake pedal. I mean, It's really kind of, yeah. So use a crate for a cat. I mean, they're small, they'll probably yowl, but it's okay.
That makes sense, though. It's all about safety, because we want to keep our furry family members safe, right? Jan, you have shared so much good information. I really appreciate it. I know Carrie does too. And I've been thinking, Carrie, how we usually ask each other at the end, what was your biggest takeaway? And I know that you don't have a pet.
I don't, but I want to get a pet now, because I think it would be so much fun to have my kids are gone. It would be great to have someone to travel with. I just had to say, I was thinking of the irony. You said my human kids versus my pet kids, but I realized the word kid is actually an animal word. So aren't we a crazy, species that are languaging?
That is true.
It's so funny. But anyway, that's where my mind goes. But yeah, so if I ever got a pet, I would have to think about all these things, and you taught me so much. But I'm going to flip that question back over to Denise, because she does have a beautiful furry member of her family, Finn. So what are you going to do for Finn differently, Denise?
We do travel quite a bit with Finn. And
Yeah,
so
you do.
I think we always put an area in the back for him that it's all his. But I think actually, we go on 9-hour trips. I think actually maybe we need to think about recrating. We used to always crate him traveling. I think we do. And I want to check the temperature back there. I might have to get one of those little fans, Jan, and put it back there, because he'll put his head over the seat. And Luke will always go, "Oh my gosh, the breath." And he was like, but Finn probably is hot. So I love this information. This has been really awesome. Thank you so much. Awesome. Is there one last thing that you want to share with everyone before we go?
I would just say, remember to try to keep it as steady and stable as possible. Coming from someone who I think operates on a very high level of, stress or anxiety, or I constantly try to keep it toned down. I think that they pick up on that so much. So as calm and as normal, quote unquote, as we can keep it, the better off it'll be. And the easier your travel would be, and just remember, as you're traveling, if they exhibit behavior that is very abnormal sometimes. So I'll use, this wasn't a trip, but when I moved, Tonka has always been great dog and not great. People are kind of he has to check it out. When we moved, he all of a sudden he was growling at these dogs. And I was so shocked, but I think it was a new place. It was a new environment. Everything was new. So he's not he wasn't comfortable and he wasn't himself. And I think we kind of assume that, everything's going to be the same, but remember that sometimes, they pick up on stuff that we don't. And so that, they're definitely reading that this is a different place and this isn't home.
They have to acclimate.
Yeah, makes sense.
That's awesome. So Jan, do you have a copy of your book to hold up?
Oh, I don't.
Okay, well, for the next one, we need to get your book. We'll put it in the notes.
Okay.
But thank you again so much for being here.
And thank you to all our viewers. We really, really appreciate it. We're rounding up the month of July. Denise, can you believe it? We've been at this for a long time, and we have so many great people watching the show. We really appreciate each and every one of you. August is going to be an amazing month, because we're actually going to tackle something that you may not have even heard of before. We're going to actually turn back the clock for you biologically, and we're going to make you younger. We're going to show you how. We're going to spend weeks on this so that you get it right, all the tips and tricks. We're super excited about this information. Maybe Jan, you'll come back and talk to us a little bit about age reversal for pets as well, because we know that age reversal leads to disease reversal. Oh, so many cool things to talk about. But please get that book, Spoil Your Pet. You won't be sorry that you have it. I think it's my #1 gift to people when they get a pet. So check it out. It's a great, amazing book. Jan, thank you so much. And thanks, Denise. This was fun. We'll see you guys next week on What's the Takeaway.
Good to be with you both.
Thank you.